Hi, everyone. We should be live. Hope everyone's doing really well.
Hello. Hello, welcome to the Stream of Truth. I am Dr. Tassel Faith Shamebrook.
And I'm Sean Kelly. Good morning. Good morning. And it's awesome. People are we're already here waiting and everything like that. Emily's here. Jamie's here. Good morning, everyone.
Wonderful. Good morning.
Sorry we were a few minutes late. I had a whole bunch of stuff going on and then some technical difficulties to add to it. It's been fun.
And please excuse my raspy voice. I'm just getting over a bit of a little thing. But maybe it's sexy. I don't know. Maybe it's a good voice.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds, what's the word? It sounds like warm.
Deep.
Yeah.
Gravelly.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of the word. There's a word for it. But yeah, it's great. And
Gravitas.
Gravitas.
Yeah, I think it has some gravitas.
Hi, Joe. Nice to see you.
Yay! So many people in the house this morning. Hope everyone is doing great.
Whoop, whoop.
Thanksgiving week. Lots of great Thanksgiving energy, thankfulness in the air.
Oh yeah, it's I guess it's Thanksgiving for you guys.
Yeah, in America. In Canada, you have Thanksgiving on
October or something. I don't really celebrate it personally. But yeah,
you celebrate it every day. You're a very thankful being.
Yeah, I give thanks daily. But I don't want to get into Thanksgiving too much. That whole holiday is strange to me. But yeah. So today we're gonna talk about cash. That green
money.
That paper.
The Benjamins. Yeah. Cold hard cash, financial abundance.
Yeah, and I think so. Tassel and I are exploring this topic ourselves with our own sort of business and what we're doing. And so we've done, I think, a lot of work to sort of try and reorient ourselves around money. And so I think what I wanted to talk about in this video or in this stream is a lot about like what kind of stories we have and how those stories can then influence what we end up experiencing and that type of thing, or specifically around money and specifically around financial abundance.
Yes.
And I do want to preface that what I don't think that this is about is actually about finances so much as it's about a positive and empowered mindset around having what you need and what you want to fulfill your dreams, your desires, that type of thing. So, like for example, if you were to want a new house or something, you may end up finding a house that's just super cheap, but it's the perfect one for you, right? So in those ways, you may not make a ton of money to buy an expensive house, but instead the universe brings to you the house of your dreams, and it's just very affordable with where you're at. So it's not always about a surplus of money. A surplus of money, to me, I don't know how Tassel feels about this, but to me, a surplus of money is pointless. And I think the universe will bring you a surplus if you want. But I think a healthier way to sort of frame it is sort of asking for and intending for receiving what you need to achieve what you want to achieve in the world, depending on what that looks like for you.
I love what you're saying, and it really reminds me of this spiritual concept of all of us being vessels for abundance to flow through us, for us to be these sort of in and out vessels of financial abundance, for one thing. So money comes through me for what I need, and then I'm also delivering it to people around me, so that it's sort of this like endless loop. And that the thinking mind, as you were saying, the thinking mind probably wants a surplus, probably wants some a lot of money in the bank or something in order to feel safe, because it's hard to always perhaps be in that faith that moment to moment source spirit is always supplying me with what I need and what is highest and best for me.
Yeah, you can see this behavior in everything that humans do.
Yeah.
It's the hoarding sort of mentality.
Yes.
The
Yes.
you know, when COVID hit, for example, like everyone bought all the toilet paper and stuff, you know, things like that. Like this idea
Yes.
that
Scarcity.
that yeah, there's everything's scarce, and that if I
Yeah.
plan well, I'll and have an abundance of all the things, then of course I'll be perfectly set and no emergency could befall me because, you know, I've mitigated all the risk.
Yes.
But that framing of reality isn't real. Like that's not how reality works. And so when we start to realize that, we can re-examine some of these ideas and then frame a more, I think, healthy approach to money.
And even just looking at the animal kingdom,
Right.
how animals live in the world, I mean, I guess like squirrels and chipmunks, they do collect some nuts for the winter. There is some hoarding. But often animals are just living sort of day to day, and with some sort of hardwired understanding that it will be provided for them.
Yeah,
That they,
yeah. And
right?
even with the hoarding with like a squirrel, they're doing that because they need to collect the food while it's there. And it's sort of
Yeah.
amazing to think that they actually are aware somehow
Yeah.
that the food won't be there soon, right? Like their
Yeah.
natural instinct is just built into their species to collect and hoard, so that when the snow falls and all the stuff they eat is covered, they have a storage, right? So
Yeah. And we can just notice how, for the most part, animals in the wild end up receiving the food they need in sort of this highest and best way. And that we too can lean into that energy, that we too are being fully supported by spirit always, and will receive what we need in our highest and best way.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's been really challenging because I grew up very typical masculine professional identity, right?
Yeah.
Like I worked in IT and I was very, you know, I went into IT because it was the only route that seemed plausible for me to work in and not hate, because I was always quite weird. But it seemed like this was probably the best way for me to fit in and make, you know, not a ton of money. Like I wouldn't be rich. I wasn't like a app developer or some sort of anything like that, but I was just a tech guy. I worked on servers and stuff like that. But I knew that that would give me stability, financial stability at least, and that I may not become rich, but I would be successful. But what I found, and I was talking with Tassel about this last night, is that in all of my pursuits for success, all I've ever done is invited failure. I was never able to achieve success, despite on paper and looking at me from external in a sort of objective way in comparison to how the society was or is. I appeared successful, but I did not feel successful despite my success. And I think this is really typical. After we awaken, we're like, well, none of that stuff I did helped me feel successful or abundant. It also seemed like, you know, when I first started in IT, I was making like 40,000 a year. Within not too many years, I think maybe 6 years or so, I was up to around 75. But my life had not changed at all. I was still making almost just enough. Like somehow I was still basically sort of paycheck to paycheck. And I think what we end up manifesting in these types of situations is a sort of rat race where we end up spending more and becoming more comfortable with more expense, so that we're always seeking to, make more money,
Yes.
and sort of thinking that, if I have more money, I'll be able to buy more things, and, I'll buy my kids toys and all these types of things. But none of these sort of orientations have ever brought me any sense of peace with anything that I've done. So then it becomes obvious that I'm thinking about it wrong. And I think,
maybe I can share my experience.
Sure.
As you have. So I was married to a very wealthy man. My ex-husband is a surgeon, and I was married to him for about 11 years, and he made so much money, lots and lots of money. But interestingly, as you were sharing, in that environment, I didn't feel I didn't feel safe or secure around money, even though there was so much money coming in. And I'm sure part of that was that I wasn't making the money. Someone else was making it. But he too did not seem at peace or secure about the money as well, even though he was making so much money. So when you said that there's maybe some misguided thinking about all this, I think I was in that space as well. And during this time, I was not as connected spiritually as I am now. And even so now, my financial situation is different, but in general, I have more faith about my financial abundance. And the way I see it now is that spirit, for all of us, is the source of our abundance. Yep. I used to think like people or companies or even the government, if I get a tax refund,
or particular actions that you take.
Yeah, I used to think like, oh, that's the source of my income. And, sometimes I'll still fall into that thinking. But in general, I like to just zoom out and to understand that everything that is flowing towards me is from source through these avenues.
Manifestation.
But it's all ultimately just from spirit, taking care of me and responding to my desires and needs.
Yeah. I'd like to just put a little cap on that too by saying, we have a tendency when we start to get into manifestation, to have this concept that I sit down and I visualize receiving money, and when it falls out of the sky unexpected, that's a manifestation. But when I get paid at my job, it's not. We have this. The mind tends to separate these tasks as if they're somehow different. Another way to look at it is like, if I desire some milk, I go to the fridge and pour a glass and drink it. I've manifested milk. Now, that doesn't sound very magical, right? That sounds pretty dumb, in fact, to say it like that. But it's true. Sometimes the path of least resistance is always followed. Sometimes the path of least resistance is for the body to move and go pick up the thing it wants. So, but I think it's really important to realize, okay, all that's coming to me, all experience, every single thing is manifested from me. I'm manifesting at all times. Though I have a theory that we stop that when we're sleeping. I'm not sure on that, but that's my theory. And we are drawing to us our experience constantly. So many millions of stimuli are approaching based on our manifestation. And this is one way that you can really think and get a little bit of our head around, not entirely around, but a little bit of understanding around what it means to be infinitely intelligent and infinitely powerful beings. Mm-hmm. Think about what that means of everything. I just saw a leaf float by. I manifested that. It's every single thing. And so when we start to understand that, we can realize that, the manifestations, we can sort of be like, well, I need money and I'm going to manifest money, and but I'm at my job, and what I'm really trying to manifest is like some surprise lottery, or like something
Windfall.
like that. Yeah. I get lucky and fall into this class action suit and become rich, or whatever. But we can tend to be like that when we are missing the abundance that's already being manifested by us. And so a lot of times we're trying to manifest what we already have and are not seeing as well. So I think it's really important to sort of have an idea that there is no set pathway for the money to come in. There is no particular act of doing that has to happen to bring the money. There is no safe route. There is no planning really for the future. That idea of planning for the future is only really, I think, useful when it's divinely inspired. And even then, it's more like an untangible, it's more like your intuition is just sort of saying, if it's divinely inspired, your intuition, subconscious, or spirit is saying, we should probably go do this, and that will prepare us for what is to come. But it's not done from fear. It's just done from, an inspired action. So that's how I try to frame it. And for me, I think, is inspired action, and understanding that it can come in any way, and that I don't have to track it, and label it as that is a success, a manifestation success, and that's not. And what can happen is if the money doesn't fall out of the sky, then we could be like, my manifestations suck. I'm stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. What's going wrong? Spirit's not listening to me. The universe doesn't love me, whatever it is. And we can get resentful and all that. So, yeah.
And I think I like everything you said. And to me, one of the practices that sometimes I fall out of, and I have to remind myself, is an abundance mindset. Basically. Like, as you said, all of us probably can easily, if we really step back, tune into all of the abundance we already have. Whether that just be food in our pantry, or our furniture, or the flowers outside of our window,
Totally.
the money that we do have.
Yep.
And it seems it's such an as within, as without energy, law of attraction, orientation, that as we hold, I'm so abundant right now. And as we have, sometimes it's irritating to hear this, but just gratitude for what we have, as we hold that mindset, it does seem that then we do see that on the external.
Yeah, it is so irritating to hear be grateful for what you have when you're in a state of lack, and feeling
when you want more. It's very irritating. I just irritated myself.
It's so irritating. I wanted to
it's so irritating
to talk about the law of attraction and gratitude a little bit, because I've found a little bit of a nuance in there where a lot of people talk about being grateful for what you don't have yet. Like in the now moment, I don't have, like, let's say it's a certain amount of money per year. I don't have that right at this moment, but a lot of manifestation teachers will say, be grateful for it because the future is now, and you can orient yourself to be grateful for what's not there. But what I've found is that that's actually a really tricky orientation to get into. It's almost, a part of you is going to resist that almost naturally, because it's just not, it doesn't make sense to the linear thinking mind. The linear thinking mind, the rational mind's going, but I don't have it. So we can pretend. I've heard this is smart. We can pretend, but I don't have it now. Objectively, I can't see it. So it's, I don't have it. And so it's really hard to get past that boundary. And so my recommendation is, if you can be grateful for the future now, like if you've dissolved time, some of us have, as sort of, things that they feel constrained by. then it's fine. But if you can't think in that multidimensional, timeless area, then and that's totally fine too. It's not for everyone to do that. Then what is really helpful is to, like Tassel said, just be very grateful for what you have and be grateful for how abundant you are. What this will do is bring about further evidence of your gratitude and things to be grateful for. The universe knows what you find beautiful and lovely and expanding, and it will just keep bringing that to you, thereby increasing everything that you need, and all of your abundance will just continue to sort of snowball on itself as you keep realizing it.
Yes. Is there a spiritual teacher named Muji?
I don't know.
Okay.
Not to me. It doesn't sound familiar to me. I love that name though. That's a cool name.
I know. I think this is where I heard this. I think there's a spiritual teacher named Muji. I might be wrong. But he said something like, the most powerful prayer you can ever say is thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's what you say all day long.
Yeah.
Because as you said, when we hold that energy of gratitude and thanks for what we have, we're really just inviting more of it.
Yeah. If we're not in that vibration, we might be in a lack or fear oriented vibration. And in those moments, we're actually resisting the universe to bring us what we want. We're telling the universe, I'm not abundant. I don't have what I want. And the universe goes, you don't have what you want. You're not abundant. And it will continue. I'm going to show you
more evidence of that.
It's going to show you more evidence of it. And then
every thought is a prayer. Whether it's a negative or positive.
And what I've found is, as I've increased my vibrational frequency, or my default sort of set point in consciousness, which I think I tend to calibrate up in the 700s or so for the power versus force, 6 to 700s generally. What I've noticed is manifestation is so fast. So when I am not achieving something that I desire, I know that I have a resistance to it. A lot of you have probably noticed this as well, that I think it's a dual effect of the vibration of the earth and the vibration held in the body. And so as both increase and the frequency of the body's vibration raises with the earth raising as well, the earth can facilitate quicker manifestation, is sort of how intuitively I see that. And so we don't want to beat ourselves up if we're in lack states. It's good to feel it and let it go, because, we've talked about this. You have to feel it to let go of it usually.
Yes. And that, it's funny, we have this one mind thing going on, because that's what I wanted to bring up. And thank you so much for touching on it already. I always talk about this, like we walking these parallel paths in sort of all of our manifestations. We hold the vision and the gratitude, and that's where we live. And then we may have feelings come up that are sort of counter to that may be about scarcity or lack or fear. And in sort of this law of attraction mindset, it can be easy to think, okay, I don't want to feel into that, because I don't want to send that energy out. They just said, don't be in scarcity. Okay. So I don't want to be in scarcity.
Right.
Or, other people saying this. So the way I see it and the way I continue to experience it is, we really do need to feel the feelings. And that is what allows that energy to move through and not remain in our energetic being.
Yeah.
And we visit and honor these feelings. We don't live in them, but we do honor and visit with them. And then we go right back to the vision.
Yeah.
I might have already said this on the stream, but I believe a lot of us are moving through feelings that have to do not just with this lifetime, but other lifetimes. We might call them past lifetimes, or, simultaneous lifetimes, however we want to conceptualize time. But just for ease, let's just say, call them past lifetimes. And over the past few months, so many super intense feelings have been coming up for me around losing it all, like losing everything. And I believe because I have experienced that in other lifetimes and that served my expansion, and I have gratitude for it. But I think there's some lingering residue in my being.
Yeah.
So I've been really trying to just go into those super uncomfortable feelings of like losing everything.
Yeah.
And as I go in there, they seem to be loosening up and moving through me and lightening. And then I'm not carrying that in my being, and I would not be likely to attract any situation that would be a match to that. So I think we really need to walk both paths here to honor and feel any fear around our abundance that might be coming up and let that move through. And then we go back to our understanding and our faith and all of that.
I'd like to add to that just from like a magical standpoint or energy standpoint, however you'd like to look at it, you can imagine that the like Tassel said, living in gratitude and in the knowing of the abundance, but visiting with the other feelings that come up. You can imagine it sort of like this. You have a positive and negative charge. It's a ratio around this. Let's say it's money. So this ratio exists around whatever concepts that you have formed stories around, right? So you can have, 10% of your time being negative, but 90% of your time being fairly positive. What ends up happening is the charge of the magical, like the manifestation, is empowered to bring your desire in. So your desire is already ready to go. And what we're trying to do is get the resistance, the negative energy that's being put into it to dwindle away as much as possible.
Yes.
And so you can be okay to visit with these feelings of negativity because you know that overall, at least this is the goal, is to overall be in a place of gratitude and in empowerment around what you have and what is coming to you. And that will ensure that the majority of what comes to you will reflect that. And then as you reduce that negative charge around that concept or circumstance, you'll get less and less evidence of that truth, of that belief.
Yes. And the thing is, that energy is in you. So you feeling it, you're only helping to depolarize it. That energy already exists. If you feel a fear, then that energy is within you. It's already there.
Yeah.
So it's the best practice to feel it, to depolarize it, and then that energy will not be there in the same way.
Exactly. And Jamie and Joe both said their orientation's a lot like mine. So Jamie says, I try to live by energy flows where attention goes, and I have total faith, but I've always lived day to day. And then Joe basically said the same things: go with the flow, no need to fight the current, just go with it. Now and again, basically make choices to manifest. Yeah, like sometimes it's important for us to realize, we talked about this I think on Friday, knowing what we actually want, and setting intentions for that to arrive, or knowing that it will arrive when it's the right time. And I'm much like Jamie and Joe as far as, I don't tend to try and resist what's occurring. I try to just trust and have faith that, if I want abundance and it's not arriving, and I don't notice any negative stories really, then it must be something I'm meant to be experiencing. But I try not to form that story either, because that's also a story that I was noticing in myself, that, I must not be I must not be meant to experience this or that, or experience true financial abundance, because it doesn't seem to be coming, and I feel like I'm gonna have it, and I feel like I'll have it, and not just financial abundance, other things too. But essentially I would just go, I must be relegated to not receiving this, And I'm okay with that too. And so I surrender to that. And what ends up happening is that that story still forms the reality. So you can practice surrender to your lack of abundance and still be quite content and peaceful. But then the question comes up like, well, what do I prefer though? And why am I limiting myself with this story? So these like nuanced little stories can be found if we do deeper investigation, which is what I did last night to try and get a frame of reference for what we were going to talk about today. Because, you know, when we first decided to talk about money, I was sort of like, I'm not sure what we're going to say. So I was like, well, I better figure it out.
Yeah, I love what you said about the story. This is one of the main questions I always ask clients when they're working on bringing something into their life. I always ask them, what is your story? What are you telling yourself and other people about this topic? And it's fascinating. The story they're telling always has an exact match with what is actually happening. And I'll just give a quick example of this. Some clients I've worked with in the past, I've helped them pass the therapy licensure exam. And one of the clients I asked about this licensure exam, I said, what's your story about this exam? And she said, well, it's that if I fail it, I can just keep taking it again.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, that's exactly what she was manifesting. She kept failing it and she kept taking it again. So just about money, what is the story that you are telling yourself and other people about money?
And so
what is your story?
I noticed mine was like, I'm poor and I'm fine with it. I'm poor and I've surrendered to it and accepted it as how it is right now. Right. And I still feel abundant. So I'm at peace with it. I do have some expenses and things coming up that have put some pressure on me in the external world. So that's why I've been really thinking about this and why this topic sort of came up for us. Because the business is new. The income isn't quite where we anticipated it would be. And so there are some, and I have things to pay for, right? So, it becomes like, well, I'm going with the flow. I'm at peace. I'm content, but there's a thing coming and I don't know how I'm going to pay for that. And if I don't pay for that, there's going to be some consequences to that. So, what's going on with me? What's going on with me that I'm doing this? So that you have to take those real honest approaches, because the stories may not be really even about money or about, it may literally be about what happens to you, right? Or how your life experience has to be. These types of things that really have nothing to do with money. They're more about like, oh, I must be just learning how to surrender to everything negative. And then I go through a whole bunch of negative stuff and I surrender to it. I'm at peace. But maybe it's time to stop that behavior, right?
Maybe you could have a different story and then a different life experience.
I think, and I've learned so much by experiencing negativity and issues in my external world and being at peace with that. That now I feel like maybe it's time to go the other way and learn how to balance, money, like these corruptible type energies that can I've often worried about if I get too much money or too much fame or too much whatever, that maybe I'll stray from my path and those types of things. So you can have those types of stories as well.
Yeah. I think in a law of attraction orientation, it's most likely highest and best to not speak what we don't want to create. So even a phrase like "I am poor" is you're creating something with that. So I sort of just invite all of us to think about the story we may have been telling about us and money up until now. And then the story we might want to tell ourselves, and every time we talk about it with other people going forward. what story would you like to happen? What story would you like to come true about you and money?
Yep.
And stick to that story.
Yeah. And it
And
also,
it could be, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, also investigate it a little bit to make sure that it's, you want it for you. Like it's coming from you, the desire. It's not a pressure from the external world or other people.
Yes.
Because if you're going to pursue pleasing the world around you and like pleasing others, you're not going to end up feeling, there's a difference between pleasing others and serving others. And, you know, it can feel like, oh, to be of service, I have to do what other people want, or I have to be a certain way. And that's not really the case. So what we can realize is that, or what we should look at is just where are the desires forming from, and what is informing like their structure and my desire, and is it coming from my truth and my heart, or is it coming from like almost a lack or a fear belief, or what is it? And a lot of times we end up realizing that the reason we're like trying to manifest so much money is because we're terrified of not having money, and we're holding so much resistance. And so we need to see those stories, because the manifestation is going to be wobbly and imbalanced and unstable because we're resisting it with that negativity around that concept. Or for me, you know, when I was growing up, I was seeing a lot of stuff about, I grew up when punk rock became pretty popular, and there was a lot of sort of social justice type conversation happening in that scene. A lot of stuff around rich pigs and all these whatever types of things. Okay. And there was a lot of degrading type stories put onto people that make money.
Yes.
And we can see a lot of evidence in our world if we want to see that money, and my dad would always say money is the root of all evil. And, that made a lot of sense to me, because I'm like, yeah, like most people do bad things and it has some tie into money in some way, almost all of it, other than like weird or different things. But, I didn't even realize that he kind of brainwashed me a little bit by accident. He was trying to say, Sean, money isn't the pursuit. He was trying to give a lovely little lesson.
Yeah.
But that helped me form that, money is actually bad in itself. Yes. And so you could have those types of feelings around money too that you need to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely also had a lot of negative associations about money, that it was something almost like dirty, or something that an evolved soul would not really concern themselves with. And I had a lot of that as well.
Yeah, I still have a little bit of it. I still worry, like, am I just confused, or why? Because I still, I think, have a bit of that negativity around money. And, Jamie just said, I've always been comfortable and grateful having what I need, but I think Joe and I are in a place we need money to make things happen, to help other people. It's a weird, maddening, uncomfortable place. That's exactly how I feel. I want to be of service, and I need to be making money to continue to do this. Right. Like, I even mentioned last night to Tassel, who she was like, ugh, I don't like that. I was like, maybe I'll get a part-time job, or like drive some Uber Eats or something. I don't want to go into like a career in IT. But I was thinking, I do need some money, and maybe the universe is, asking me to try that. And Tassel was like, that doesn't feel good. Right. And I'm like, no, it doesn't feel it didn't feel good for me to even suggest it. So it is a maddening place, because you're like, I'm here to serve others, yet it feels like I don't have what I need to do that properly, or in a consistent way, in a stable way. And, so yeah, I'm going through that exact maddening, uncomfortable feeling that you're describing, Jamie. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. And it's such a fierce feeling inside because we've had these awakenings and we've done all this inner work and there's so much to share and we want to stay on this aligned path. And then at the same time, there are sort of economic realities. So this path of staying on the path and with money coming in is obviously the ideal situation.
Yeah, both of us, just for us as an example, we want to be able to do this and do what we're doing, and we like what we're doing. It feels like it's what we're meant to be doing.
Yes.
Yet we're experiencing some not issues, but we're experiencing some challenges around finances with it. And not so much that we need the finances to just explode or to be huge, but we do need a stable income. And we're unsure the best way. Also, we want to make sure that we do that in a way that feels well, like it feels aligned. It doesn't feel... Yeah, integrous. That's we stand in our integrity and make money in an integrous or in our integrity. Instead of like for example, marketing is something I have a lot of trouble with because I feel like almost all marketing is just bullshit deception and basically lies in almost all of it. Or it's just like ego talk, ego talking to ego, and it like doesn't resonate with me. I'm like, but then how do I sell anything or do anything if I'm not willing to market?
Yeah.
And so
we even have a hard time just saying please subscribe
to
the channel.
You have a hard time asking for anything.
Check out our Patreon community. Yeah, I think both you and I have some expansions in that department of
Yeah, exactly. Joe said, we all we need is like $1 million to buy a 2 to 3 bedroom in Hawaii so we can do our work. Nothing wrong with that. No, nothing wrong with that. It's so simple, and it's really not that huge of an ask to just get that done and serve the world, right? So I think we're in a similar boat as Joe and Jamie. And probably many people are in this exact boat in this spiritual type of work. If they want to do that work, we were talking about how it seems like I'm successful. I was talking about how I think I define success, and I think I define success as knowing myself.
Yes.
And then I was like, but I don't seem to be compensated for doing that. Right? Like, just truthfully, nobody's paying me to know myself better. So, what do, right? It becomes challenging. And then also, I think we're aware that regardless of marketing, the people who are interested and resonate with the content and who it will serve will come. And so we think that too. And then maybe we trust that so much that we don't really do anything. Other than doing some posts and stuff,
Right. I think we're feeling out what the right balance is with faith and sort of like inspired action and everything. Yeah. And then what are some real world things that maybe would be helpful? How can we feel good about asking for money, more or less? How can we feel good about asking for money? And I think part of it is that we don't recognize our own value of what we're offering. So we can forget that, Tassel and I have gone through a lot to get where we are, and a lot of people could receive lots of value from our offerings. And we forget that and just, we figure we start to think we might have to trick people or, not trick them, but, no. I just mean when I talk about marketing, some of the ways marketing goes, we start to be like, well, am I supposed to do what all the other business people seem to do? It seems not super aligned. But we can ask the question, well, should I though? Am I just being stupid? Or right, am I just being a naive little idiot because I just trust?
And the ego goes, yup. And it's just not, that's not the case. But there is stories there for me, and it sounds like for you as well. So that's why we're not yet where we were envisioning to be. Almost guaranteed that's the reason. So
and I want to just say that also, like, everyone listening, same thing. Everyone who's listening to this live or recorded afterwards, you most likely have been through so much, and your consciousness is amazing, and you have so much to share. And maybe we all are not valuing that because we live in ourselves, and we're with ourselves all the time. So we don't maybe even appreciate who we are because we're just in it all the time.
I almost give almost zero thought to my own value. Almost never am I thinking, oh, I'm valuable. I try to occasionally go there, but I don't even notice it.
So in the as within, so without universal law.
Yeah.
If we are not really valuing ourselves, even, on this monetary level, that, gosh, what I have is worth some money to offer to people, then we're going to experience that on the external, right? So like you just sharing very beautifully and honestly that you might not give a lot of thought to that your teachings and your consciousness are worth something on a monetary level. Then we might experience that.
Yeah, when I first started awakening, I had somebody that was sort of mentoring me a little bit. And they were very, very of the opinion that to talk about yourself, to identify it all with the self is all ego and it's all bad. And it's, and so to empower yourself is just as bad as it is to act negatively in the world type thing. That it's that it is a negative action. And I bought into that for a time. So I have this sort of, and that was after my awakening. So it's not that I disempower myself, but I don't tend to seek to empower myself or appreciate my own value. And so that's something that I'm sort of just occurring to me now. So it's awesome that we talked about this. We knew that this would happen, we'd have some insights during.
I think this is huge. This piece is maybe the golden ticket of this stream, is how are we valuing ourselves internally in regards to money? And then what do we see on the external?
Right. Yeah.
That's huge, huge.
Totally. We got to believe that people would pay and gladly for the services we offer.
Yes.
Or they won't, or they'll quibble with it, or they'll, right? Like if we don't hold our value and know that it's worth it, then they're not going to feel like it's worth it.
Yes. So, if we don't hold that energy, no one else is going to hold that energy.
Yeah.
And one way to look at it is just however old you are. It's not just this lifetime, of course, it's all your lifetimes, but let's just talk about this lifetime. However old anyone is listening to this right now, every day of your life has been some sort of expansion. Every single day you've lived on this planet, and then all the other lifetimes too. And that's all, you bring all of that to whatever work you're sharing with someone else. And that's an incredible library of consciousness.
That's unique to you.
And it's totally unique to you. And this is one of the phrases that I say in all of my workshops, my Conscious Coach workshop. You have no competitor. Sean, you have no competitor. Jamie, Joe, Emily listening, you have no competitor. You and your extremely unique experiences throughout all of your lifetimes, your extremely unique energy signature, your extremely unique special gifts and passions. There is no one like any of us in the entire multiverse.
Yeah. A lot of people,
past, present, future.
a lot of
No
people,
one.
a lot of people will teach that you're not special, right? And I was of this orientation for a while at a time. But what I've come to understand,
that is a big teaching in the spiritual community.
what I've come to understand is everyone is special. So it's not that you're more special or other, you know, every single person is unique and special in their own ways. And that can sound a little rose colored, but it's true. And also the other thing about the no competitor is there is no other being. There's no other person. There's no, you compete with yourself. So even if you think and compare to the other, that's still just you competing with yourself. You're forming a competition.
Yeah, that word has sort of very 3D connotations. Yeah, we don't want to think about it that way really at all.
But
the point being, you are a magnificent masterpiece.
Yeah.
And the more you are in your alignment and in your passion and in your dreams and in your authenticity, the more magnificent you shine. And I think it's just this path for all of us in every incarnation to remember that, to remember our sacred value.
Yeah, totally. I think one of the main things that we're trying to do here is because it's really hard to actually dissolve the ego entirely, especially here now in this time. So what we're trying, I think, to do is form a ego that is empowering but balanced in humility, and a humbleness and gratitude, right? And a surrender, but is still very empowered and in the power, and not trying to seek validation externally for everything. And in that way, we won't be comparing or competing with anyone. It can be hard for me to watch somebody like Aaron Abke or something, for example, because I went through a time where I was like, this guy, look at him, look at this gorgeous man, first of all. And then second of all, he's doing so well. And, he ended up getting invited onto, I think, the Jenny McCarthy podcast, and his business seems to be exploding. And I'm like, I feel like I'm where he's at with consciousness and my spiritual teaching. Yet, he's so perfect in all these things, right? So, and I love him, but he can be almost grating for me sometimes to watch. So I actually watch him a little more to try and get myself over some of that. But it's really interesting to notice these competitions, and I don't really do that anymore. This was a sort of past orientation. We're always expanding, and these types of things are really interesting. Whenever we're comparing ourselves to others, whether it's in finances or anything, we have to remember that there's truly abundance, that we're special. We deserve to experience our dreams and our bliss and our joy. That's where what we're here to do and show. And, everything's going to transition into that. And I do believe that we're going to see a heaven on earth within the next 100 years or so. And I'm excited for that.
All of us are bringing through in our individual lives our own heaven on earth.
Yes. Exactly.
The way I see that it's happening. It's not like it's going to descend
magically.
No. It's each one of us as we really inhabit our God self, and we bring through the heaven on earth. And when you were earlier explaining this sort of beautiful balance of like humility and empowerment, to me, I like that term God self. I'm just in my God self. I'm embodying spirit. I am spirit. And there is humility there, and there is honoring and empowerment, and it's all of that.
Don't feel bad for loving yourself. Don't feel guilty because you think you're awesome. That's great if you think you're awesome. Stop.
Yes.
I'm bad
yes.
I'm bad at this. I resist my own. If I do something really well and I'm really happy with myself about what I've done or what I feel has occurred, I know that I don't really exist, but to do things and whatever, I still have the chatter that everyone has. So I'm trying to frame like a more positive, egoic mindset. And what I've noticed is that when I notice that my ego chastises me for that now, is because now I formed an identity that I'm a humble servant of God. I'm nothing at all. I just do as I do, and if it's good and people like it, then that's cool, and if not, then that's also great. So, and that is my orientation, but I'm struggling now because I'm starting to notice that I think I would be better serving myself to give myself a little bit more power and a little bit more self-love and value. And it's really, really hard for me because I've been taught my whole life not to stand in my power.
Yes. We're really, really talking about our own internal worth, and then how that shows up for us in the external.
Yeah.
And it's not just about money. It's all of it. It's all the abundance. It's love abundance coming, into us through the external as well. It's all of it. And it all begins and ends with our own internal orientation of our worth. And a little sticking point, I know for me, maybe for you too, is especially, let's say, over the past year, there's been so many initiations that you and I have gone through sort of together, almost like this couple's dark night of the soul in a way, but very positive. But I have at times felt like, oh my gosh, there's still a lot I'm learning here. And I think I can devalue my worth when I'm in a learning period, that somehow because I'm learning in a certain specific aspect in relationship here,
right?
That sort of negates my worth overall or something. That if I'm learning something and growing and expanding in this area, that somehow I'm not like a teacher or a master.
Yeah, you're an imposter because you haven't finished.
Yes,
but because you never finish.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're constantly going to be, as we continue as souls in infinite lifetimes, we're constantly going to be working on different aspects. And you and I maybe have mastered certain aspects, and then our relational aspect has been this like new level of mastery we've been invited to embody. But so I know that's like a little sticking point for me in my internal worth.
Yeah, what I have tried to orient myself around is that entirely discard the concept that I can ever truly understand anything. That I am really just a humble student, and I am a ever progressing, ever evolving student of the universe. All that occurs is teaching me at all moments. I could never be expected to be fully mastered in any realm here. I don't believe it's possible to fully master anything here. I believe it's possible to get quite masterful, but not fully mastered, because so much is veiled here, basically. That's the main reason. Because so much is veiled, we basically don't have any real idea of what's going on. We have stories and we have narratives, and then we have some intuition, but we basically don't see 99% of what's actually really going on in the universe around us, even directly within us and our own experience. We're totally ignorant to all of it. So how could we possibly know it all, right? Or understand it all and reach an understanding. And that's why this density is called the density of choice. And it's fourth density, that's the density of understanding. That's when we have access to all of the occurrences. And now we have in the next density, we'll have the tools and the observational instrument and perception levels in the next dimension to be able to perceive what's truly occurring in a much better way. And so that's how I orient myself, so that I don't worry so much about being learned in any way. And you know what I mean? Like being
like an endpoint to that.
Yeah. I do try to increase my wisdom always, but it's a never ending, circle of learning.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I forget the lessons, and then I'd have to repeat them, and a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, totally. So I wonder if maybe we could end with a summary of the practices that have come up through our conversation today.
You are great. I just want to say, because I could never do that, and I just really appreciate you.
Thank you. I wonder if I was valuing myself, and then I saw that on the external from you. Beautiful. I just sort of wrote down 4 practices that have come up through our conversation that not only I think can bring us financial abundance, but just abundance and ease in every aspect of our lives. And I might just start with number 1, the practice of valuing ourselves. So this idea, as within, so without, when we internally value ourselves, we will absolutely see it manifested in the external. Number 2, what is the story that we're holding around money or around anything else in our lives? And is the story you're currently holding, is that what you would like to see manifest?
Yeah, is that really serving you?
Is that serving you? Or is it better to just, you know what? I'm going to just discard that story. It served me well, maybe, but maybe there's a different story that I would like to see happen in my reality.
Yeah, and don't get mad at the story. It served its purpose. The purpose was for you to see through it.
Good. But the idea that our words are spells, our words are spells. So the way we speak about any topic does help to create the external reality of that, the way we speak to ourselves about it and the way we speak to others about it. So what perhaps new story would you like to tell about yourself and money? And
if you want to know your stories, just literally ask yourself. I like to do it out loud. Like, why do I feel like I don't have any money? And then I'll start. But usually the rational mind will come in with some answers that are surface level. So you want to keep asking, but why? But why? But why? And you end up getting to the root of,
the root beliefs.
Yeah, the root beliefs, the narrative that's brought you there.
Yeah. Excellent. And then the third point I'd like to make, which we haven't brought up yet, but is this idea of, you could call it self-hypnotherapy, or just self-direction, whatever, word you're comfortable with. But those could be in the form of affirmations, things that you write out, even just a little sticky note with an affirmation, or you can even record yourself saying affirmations and listen to those. And those could be whatever feels resonant. It could be, I am worthy. I am worthy to receive every single one of my dreams, including my financial dreams. I am a gift to others. I am here to share my treasures with others. Whatever affirmation, most lights you up inside. But this is really a form of self-hypnotherapy. You're really tapping into your subconscious, which is running the show. And
right before you do the affirmations, I find it very, very helpful to spend maybe 15 to 30 seconds just centering, closing your eyes, centering, and coming back into that I am presence, that presence of source and the divinity within you that is perfect as it is, the sacred witness to everything that's occurring. Try to find that energy inside, and then say the affirmation, and you won't usually find that there's that resistance that can pipe in as you're doing the affirmations. A lot of times if I'm just walking around and then I go, I'm handsome, my mind goes, you're not. And so to help sway that a little bit, I find just 30 seconds to get into like a balanced presence and knowingness of your divinity just helps to reinforce the truth of what you're saying in the affirmation.
Yes. And I love affirmations. I use them pretty much every day. And recently I've been setting alarms on my phone to go off in the afternoon and the nighttime. And I take a few minutes to either say an affirmation or write down the affirmation. And this seems to keep me in the energy all day long, because I find I might start off the day really in my energy of I am worthy and I can create everything I want to in my life, and whatever affirmations I'm working. I'll start off pretty good in the morning, but sometimes throughout the day, I might kind of get out of that energy.
You've seen some reflections, right? So
because I might be paying too much attention to the external now reality, which of course is temporal and is only what has manifested so far. It's completely temporary.
Yep.
So that's another thing, is just, I love this idea of like, don't pay so much attention to the external now reality. It's just temporary. You're just moving through it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I've been doing affirmations in the morning, and then when my alarm goes off in the afternoon, do a few then, and then at night. And then it just carries me through in that energy the whole day.
Yep.
And then lastly, it was a little spankable, but faith.
Yeah. Well, it's the most important, I think.
Faith, gratitude.
Yeah.
Just my middle name is Faith. And just the faith that we are all here to live out our dreams. That is my absolute belief.
And when faith gets pure enough, it becomes something that can't even be called faith. It's just knowing. It's just a knowing. Now it's not faith.
I would say remembering. Yeah, I like the idea that we're remembering our God self.
We're remembering our truth.
We are creator gods here on this planet, and we're creating whatever we want in our highest and best. Yeah.
I think that's a really good place to end. And so that'll be $1,000 for everybody who's watched. If you could just PayPal that to us, that'd be appreciated. We have value and we're claiming it now. No.
No, and that reminds me. Yeah.
We should literally say.
Yeah. We're joking about it.
We're joking.
We're so funny. But there is, I'm just going to say it, there is a donation, little icon somewhere on the channel.
Yeah, on the channel about. And then there's also the Patreon community that we started.
And then there's our Patreon community, which is going to be so amazing. It's coming together right now. And if you like the video, feel free to like it or subscribe to the channel. All of that helps. And let us know how we can help you too. In the comments. If you have a channel, if there's work that you're putting out onto the earth, let us know, because we want to support. And everyone's supporting everybody.
We actually are talking about having guests and stuff on the show, or on maybe different shows that we might be doing. So, definitely reach out to us if you're interested in coming on and talking and whatever.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you so much.
Love to everybody.
Sending love. Bye.
Bye.